The meeting starts with polite smiles, but then phones appear, and side conversations begin after the first few slides. People check their emails and messages, ignoring the presenter. The presenter tries to regain attention, but it is difficult. Colleagues whisper and giggle about non-work related topics. The meeting's productivity noticeably decreases. The boss notices the distraction and asks everyone to focus. Some participants apologize and try to pay attention. The meeting continues, but the atmosphere remains tense. After the meeting, colleagues discuss the missed opportunities. The team decides to implement stricter meeting rules. A pitch first lands in the croc brain, the fast part that sorts threat, novelty, and simplicity. It reacts instantly, either opening a path for thinking or blocking you with boredom or alarm. If the message feels dangerous, confusing, or overly new, that filter rejects it before logic gets a chance. When it feels safe and clear, curiosity rises and the room becomes willing to hear the deeper structure. Dense slides and long disclaimers push complexity upward, so attention drops and people start searching for shortcuts. A clean pattern, with one surprising detail, creates novelty without confusion, so focus returns to the speaker. This is why facts alone do not win meetings, as attention is the scarce resource being defended. The goal is to design signals that invite curiosity and desire instead of triggering fear and dislike. Strip your opening to the simplest claim, then add one novel element that makes the next question unavoidable. Watch for the first sign of disengagement and adjust immediately, as the early filter makes fast decisions. A frame is the context and significance that surrounds what is being said in the room. Whoever controls that frame sets the agenda, decides what matters, and influences others to react. When a target deframes you, the topic shifts mid-sentence, and your authority begins to shrink. If you remain composed and continue to frame, resistance becomes part of your structure instead of a derailment. A common trap is answering every challenge in detail, which can expand side issues and dilute your main point. A better approach is to ignore threads that do not support your goal and magnify those that do. Frame control transforms a pitch from a procedure into an attention system that can withstand interruptions. It also keeps your narrative moving toward an outcome, rather than wandering into debate and defense. Prepare simple boundaries for what you will cover, then redirect questions back into your frame quickly. Practice staying unreactive under pressure, because a calm response is often the first step in winning the frame. Prizing involves shifting the social question from who needs approval to who is being selected. The prize frame values your offer and standards, treating money or endorsement merely as a commodity. When you chase, you signal that the target is the prize, making you the anxious applicant. That posture creates neediness, broadcasting weakness and causing the target to pull away. Neediness often manifests as trial questions seeking reassurance, rather than advancing the deal. Pulling back and requiring qualification restores calm by removing the urge to perform for acceptance. This change reduces over-explaining, as you stop trying to convince and start testing fit. It also protects your frame, as withdrawal keeps the agenda from being rewritten by the other side. Use statements, set conditions, and be willing to leave, as these actions make prizing believable. Subscribe for more ways to replace approval, seeking with prizing, clear frames, and faster decisions. Status is not fixed, as social value shifts with the environment and the roles within it. Local star power is the ability to create temporary high status by moving the interaction into your domain. People quickly judge social value using wealth, power, and popularity, then lock in a frame without thinking. If you do nothing, the target's default status can define you as a visitor who must wait and comply. On your turf, expertise and location knowledge allow you to take the high status position early. On their turf, you can neutralize the dominant figure by redistributing attention to allies and shared standards. Status supports frame control, as high status signals that your boundaries and timing deserve respect. It also makes your information feel safer to accept, as the room expects competence from the high status role. Start by identifying the domain you can legitimately lead, then shrink the conversation around that expertise. When status rises, maintain it with calm behavior and clear choices, not with bragging or extra talk. Hot cognitions are rapid emotional assessments that bypass analysis, compelling the primitive filter to move towards you. These are formed by stacking frames quickly, ensuring attention remains vivid, and preventing the thinking process from cooling down. The stack begins with intrigue, which introduces an information gap The brain desires to fill. Novelty triggers dopamine and desire, as long as complexity remains manageable. Next, the prize frame makes involvement feel earned and shifts the chasing pressure away from you. Then, a time frame sets a real timeline, making the decision feel connected to the deal's path. A moral authority frame signals competence and standards, making the target expect you to act like a professional agent. Together, these frames produce wanting, a durable preference that keeps the pitch moving. Build your pitch so each frame appears in order, and avoid letting cold, technical debate take over. End by clearly stating the hook point, as that is where the room asks what happens next. A successful pitch first changes the social dynamic, then allows facts to be received in that new context. Attention is captured by frames, status, and desire, not by perfect slides or lengthy explanations. Begin with the croc brain filter, then use frame control to maintain the agenda and ensure relevance. Introduce prizing and status shifts so the room recognizes your time, standards, and boundaries as valuable. When frame stacking creates desire, decisions become easier because the audience is already inclined to say yes. This reduces defensive debate and transforms the conversation into due diligence and next steps. Select one meeting this week to simplify the opening, create intrigue, and establish a clear time frame. Then practice stepping back from seeking validation, as calm distance often quickly restores your advantage. When the hook point is reached, clearly state the decision needed and what will happen immediately afterward. Subscribe if you want more practical drills for frame control, prizing, and making decisions under pressure.